the polar bear surges into a high-stakes pursuit across one of the harshest frozen landscapes on Earth. Its massive frame presses against the ice, locking onto its target and driving its target into a narrowing corridor with no clear escape. A decisive, perfectly timed move ends the pursuit within seconds. When a rival approaches to contest the prize, it is met with a clear display of dominance, where control determines the outcome. Here, only the one with commanding power can hold the throne atop the frozen realm. Arctic is one of the most barren and unforgiving regions on Earth. Here, the polar bear, the largest land-dwelling mammal, rises to the top of the food chain, with adult males often weighing around 1,500 pounds. Its domain is the realm of fixed sea ice and drifting floes, a constantly shifting world where tracks can vanish after a single gust of wind. And upon that sea ice, it stands as the dominant force at the pinnacle of the Arctic ecosystem. In the bright summer months, the Arctic Ocean fractures into patches of open water, fragile, breathing windows that turn the sea into a high-stakes arena. In shallow river mouth zones, beluga whales weighing around 1,500 pounds gather in clusters, taking turns surfacing for air with the shifting rhythm of the reversing tide. In such tight space, every turn carries the cost of a single mistake. The polar bear steps onto the quiet ice like a skilled strategist. With the ability to hold its breath for about 20 minutes, a beluga will eventually have to surface. Standing upwind to keep its scent hidden, the bear shifts its full weight into its powerful shoulders. When the water trembles, a decisive movement follows, backed by a bite strength measured at about 1,200 pounds per square inch, enough to tip the struggle in its favor right at the water's edge. As the tide swings by as much as 6 feet, constantly reshaping the waterline, the polar bear tests bold lunges from slick, rocky ledges. Even when it missteps against the beluga's speed in deeper water, those setbacks only sharpen the instincts of the hunter. They teach the bear to conserve energy and wait for the deciding moment. In the polar world, the reward doesn't go to the rushed, but to the one that saves strength and commits at exactly the right instant. In an unforgiving environment, patience is the true key to survival. The prey a polar bear desires most is the ringed seal. An individual weighing around 132 pounds carries a substantial reserve within its thick layer of fat, close to 100,000 calories, like a fuel tank capable of sustaining the bear through days of bitter cold. Yet hunting seals is not a loud pursuit. It is a test of patience. At times, the bear lies motionless for hours beside a breathing hole. At others, it edges toward the ice rim where a seal may be resting, restraining every movement until even its breathing seems barely visible. The difference lies in its nose. A polar bear's sense of smell is refined enough to detect prey beneath nearly 3.3 feet of snow. To it, the ice is not a barrier, but a living map. When a seal surfaces for air, the opportunity lasts only a few fragile seconds. The instant the water stirs, the bear launches forward like a released spring. Swift, precise, controlled, closing the gap before the seal can disappear beneath the ice. Yet the Arctic offers no generosity. Most approaches end in empty space, with success rates often around 15%. For that reason, when an opening appears, the bear's reaction is immediate, especially for a mother. A brief burst of speed across the ice can mark the line between endurance and exhaustion. In that white expanse, dominance is not defined by strength alone. It is the ability to read the rhythm of the environment, maintain energy discipline, and wait for the exact moment to turn stillness into survival. Leaving the familiar sea ice behind, the polar bear is forced onto solid ground. It moves along sand spits and beneath rocky cliffs, where seabirds crowd together to nest, snow geese, gulls, and Arctic terns. Before it lies a more visible food source than seals, eggs and hatchlings with almost no room to flee. Yet this is only a stopgap, not a lasting solution. The bear does not surge forward like a speed-driven hunter. It advances slowly, reading the terrain, selecting the densest cluster of nests, and feeding quickly, before the sky seems to close in. At times it climbs slick slopes while enduring repeated dive-bys and piercing calls overhead. Each clutch of eggs offers only small bursts of energy, nothing compared to the dense fat reserves provided by seals, but enough to extend survival for another day. When the cost of movement grows too high, it shifts into an energy-saving mode, moving less, resting more, ignoring anything unnecessary. There are moments when it remains still for hours, even an entire day, waiting for a rare opportunity, a whale wash up along the shore, or anything substantial enough to restore the energy already spent. When the sea ice retreats, the Arctic shoreline grows busy in a different way. The scent of salt, heavy breaths, and crowded haul-out sites where walruses rest between feeding dives. An adult male can weigh up to about 3,700 pounds, with tusks nearly 3 feet long and thick skin that makes it resemble a moving fortress. A presence the polar bear cannot simply charge on instinct. For that reason, with walruses, the bear rarely chooses direct confrontation. It often circles along the edge of the group, patiently observing the herd's rhythm. When the mass shifts and bodies press together, a narrow opening may briefly appear, and at times, a smaller individual is pushed slightly beyond the dense layer of protection. If there is a strategy, it is to stir just enough disruption, not to prevail through force, but to separate an opportunity. Yet that opportunity is fragile and rare. The walruses need only tighten their formation, and every window disappears. Most of the time, the bear withdraws, conserving energy for another day. Because in the Arctic, resolve is not about always advancing, but about knowing when to step back. Along the coastal stretch, gray shapes drift quietly like thin smoke. Arctic wolves stand among the region's apex predators through coordinated intelligence. They move lightly now, their eyes fixed on the white giant upwind. They do not approach to provoke, but to observe and wait for opportunity. Between the two species lies a narrow line of survival. The polar bear holds the highest position in the food chain and often feeds on the richest available food first before moving on, leaving behind what can still matter to a pack in lean times. For a wolf pack during lean seasons, that leftover resource can be vital. The wolves never close in while the bear is feeding. They circle patiently, maintaining a careful distance, waiting for the dominant presence to depart. There is no growling, only caution shaped by the cold. The Arctic teaches that wasted energy means self-elimination. An unspoken understanding takes form. Each species endures by recognizing limits and respecting the strength of the other. When speaking of the North, caribou stand as symbols of endurance and relentless journeys. They travel in large herds, crossing open tundra in search of grazing grounds, seemingly born to run. An adult can sustain speeds of about 50 miles per hour, turning distance itself into a protective shield against most heavier predators. For that reason, the polar bear rarely charges straight in. It conceals itself, watching patiently, waiting for the formation to loosen and favoring calves or older individuals that fall behind after exhausting migrations. When facing a target weighing up to 1,200 pounds, the bear reads the terrain and gradually directs it toward cold water to limit escape routes. And when only a few yards remain, it unleashes a short burst of speed. A single powerful sweep from its massive paw can bring the struggle under control quickly, closing the pursuit within a few decisive moments. The scene shifts again when summer arrives. In shallow streams, salmon become a rich seasonal reward. The bear steps close to the water's edge, eyes fixed on every ripple, ears tuned to each splash. It waits for the precise rhythm, then captures its chance in a swift motion. The fat and protein from salmon provide efficient nourishment, helping the bear maintain strength for the journey ahead. Beneath the ocean's surface, fear does not arrive with teeth, but with cold intelligence. The orca appears with almost no warning, each slow circle around the drifting ice a precisely calculated step. Its power is not defined by muscle, but by the moment the prey realizes every escape route has been sealed. The sea becomes a living chessboard, where every passing wave carries a clear intention. And when the pod's call rises through the water, the ocean's order is established in an instant. The orca is a marine mammal that sits at the top of the ocean food web. Its power is not defined by a single burst of speed, but by pod intelligence, where each role is assigned like a coordinated team. They communicate through sound, remember travel routes, and use echolocation to read the darkness beneath the surface. In any ocean, the orca's presence is a reminder of its role in maintaining natural balance, helping regulate populations and sustain order in marine ecosystems. In the South Atlantic, the tide is not just an astronomical event. It is a high-stakes survival pulse. As the rising water covers jagged reefs, a leading female orca and her family begin the ocean's most dangerous journey. Their target is recently weaned elephant seal pups, weighing around 300 pounds. These young animals do not yet have the experience to recognize the danger sliding in with the incoming water. More than 20 feet long, the mother orca quietly threads into a narrow channel. This is a gamble measured in minutes. One misread of the falling tide, and the hunter can be stranded for good on the rocks. But the orca's intelligence does not end there. Moving into colder waters, they face elephant seals weighing about 1,000 pounds, resting high on drifting ice. Here, a coordinated team totaling roughly 12,000 pounds performs one of the most disciplined group tactics on Earth. They line up side by side, then drive their tails to send waves several feet high. The surge breaks the ice's stability and knocks the seal into frigid water, where the hunters are already in position. This is more than a hunt. It is a cultural legacy known as wavewashing, passed down through generations. As ice shifts and water rises, disciplined teamwork and strategic intelligence become the ultimate advantage, allowing orcas to dominate across the planet's cold oceans. In shallow water, stingrays press close to the bottom and glide in silence, blending into the sand as if they were part of the terrain. Orcas respond with a fourth skill, a deliberate tail slap that churns up sediment and strips away every layer of camouflage. When the ray is forced off the seafloor, the advantage flips instantly. The orca does not need a high-speed chase, only a short approach within a few feet, enough to seal the space and take control. What stands out here is not just strength, but adaptive thinking shaped to each species and each landscape, confirming the role of a true strategist of the ocean. On drifting ice, a pod works together to generate waves several feet high, breaking footing and forcing penguins into the cold water. Notably, many younger individuals weighing thousands of pounds join these hunts not only for food, but as a process of learning and practicing skills in real conditions. A humpback whale appears like a living fortress in the open ocean, with a body mass that can reach around 88,000 pounds. Its pectoral fins, nearly 16 feet long, sweep through the water slowly but with clear authority, forming a steady protective buffer around the mother and her calf. Across a migration that spans thousands of miles, this defensive structure helps keep most threats at a safe distance, while demanding near-perfect coordination between two enormous bodies. Orcas rarely choose a healthy adult at full strength. Instead, they shadow mother and calf pairs along the outer edge of the travel route, where rest cycles and surfacing rhythm become decisive. Under the lead of a dominant female, the pod splits its formation. One group disrupts the pair's direction, while another blocks retreat, maintaining constant pressure that forces the mother to change course and spend energy with every repeated turn. What sets this strategy apart is its level of precision. A seasoned individual matches movement to the pair's steady swim cadence, using the brief moment when the calf drifts just a few inches beyond the protective zone. When that shield is disrupted, the formation closes immediately, using position and body mass to control the space, pushing the mother to draw on every reserve of endurance to pull the calf back in. The pursuit ends with cold practicality. They focus on the most energy-efficient payoff, then move on as the ocean returns to its natural cycle. In that moment, the sea repeats an unchanging rule. Even the greatest giants endure by staying in rhythm with nature, where every form of power is paid for in energy. Each year, gray whales make a punishing 12,000-mile round trip from the Arctic to Baja. A mother weighing nearly 90,000 pounds carries a promise of survival, guiding her calf, only about 2,000 pounds, across the open ocean. For the young one, Every mile becomes a test of breathing rhythm, calm focus, and endurance. In open water, orcas arrive not with noise, but with a discipline that feels relentless. They spread into a horizontal line, reaching speeds up to 30 miles per hour to stir chaotic water and create hard-to-read angles, constantly working to separate the calf from the mother's protective wall. Instead of a straight charge, the orcas take turns closing in, disrupting surfacing timing and forcing the pair to spend more energy with each tightening loop of pursuit. Out on the deep blue, no strength is ever absolute. Even a giant carried by steady maternal resolve can pay the highest price if timing slips by half a step in the dance of survival. Along that fragile boundary, only those who hold on to persistence to the very end earn the chance to face tomorrow's sunlight. Across the deep blue surface, the great white shark, reaching about 20 feet long and nearly 5,000 pounds, has long been seen as a symbol of ocean power. But now that order is being tested by an opponent that is not only strong, but also calculating. The orca, with a brain that can weigh up to about 15 pounds and pod coordination that functions like a trained hunting unit. Rather than a chaotic contest of force, orcas turn the encounter into a precise tactical operation. They exploit a biological vulnerability in sharks, a temporary immobile state when the shark is turned upside down. With exact coordination, individual orcas use their body weight to control and roll the shark, leaving the solitary predator in a deep, unresponsive state with little ability to react. Their objective is not the entire animal, but the most energy-dense reward, an approach built on efficiency rather than prolonged pursuit. This efficiency can trigger a wave of avoidance. Once other great whites detect orca acoustic signals, they may leave the area immediately. It is a clear sign that a new era has begun for these masters of rough seas. Among their prey, sea lions weighing over 1,100 pounds demand the most specialized and daring pursuit techniques. This is especially true when they haul out on sandy beaches, briefly leaving their familiar environment and losing their usual alert advantage. The chase quickly becomes a high-stakes test of timing and control. Along the waters of Patagonia, orcas perform the dramatic tactic known as intentional stranding. They patiently study the tide's timing before surging up to 30 miles per hour, sliding their massive bodies onto the beach to seize the target in an instant. It is an extreme gamble. A small miscalculation in body placement or wave push can leave the dominant hunter stranded on shore for good. Across open miles of sea, they display another form of power driven by ocean dynamics. With a purposeful tail strike that can deliver thousands of pounds of force, an orca can fling an opponent more than 30 feet into the air. The impact can leave the target unable to respond and underscores the orca's overwhelming advantage in that moment. These behaviors are not simply instinct, but proof of a cultural legacy, where skills are refined and passed down through generations. In the blue depths, they stand as strategists shaped by the discipline of true masters. That is how the polar bear asserts dominance across the Arctic. Across the open tundra, each hard-earned success becomes a hard-earned exchange for the energy needed to survive. Nature offers no concessions. The strong endure, and the slow pay the price. If you want to watch more of nature's most intense wildlife encounters, hit like and subscribe to support the channel. The next episode will return with even more chilling scenes from the frozen frontier.